right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Student Achievement Work Session to kick off the evening. We have two updates that we will be receiving on summer school and adult education. I am going to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Mubenga to introduce staff and get us started on the presentations.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Vice President Scott, board members, and everyone else that is watching. Uh, I really wanted our staff to be able to present to you today the program, the adult program that we have in the district. I know that we're serving probably more than 3,000 students. As I'm looking at these particular programs, it looks like a school within another district within another district. So really wanted Dr. Renner to go ahead, present that so that everybody will be on the same page to know how that program looks like when it started and how we're moving forward with that particular program. So that's going to be Dr. Renner, and I'm not going to come back once Dr. Renner finish. I know Vice President is going to ask board members if they have questions once we finish. Then Botticelli will step up. We'll be able to present our summer programs of last year and to see the impact that that program have had in our districts. Without further ado, Dr. Reynard.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mubenga, and good afternoon, Vice President Scott, other board members, Superintendent Dr. Mubenga, and community members. It's been about a year and a half since sharing adult education division updates. Tonight, we are certainly pleased to provide an overview of the adult education division, an area of critical importance as we continue to expand learning opportunities and pathways for adults in our community. Joining us are two of our hardworking and dedicated leaders who are guiding this important work. Assistant Superintendent Dr. Alyssa Monfoletto, whose leadership and drive continue to pave a path towards excellence, and Director Amanda Valake, whose historical knowledge and experience have been instrumental in reshaping programs and ensuring our adult learners have access to resources and supports that they need to succeed. Together, they will share highlights of the division's progress, new initiatives, and the impact adult education is making in advancing both individual opportunity and community growth. We'll begin with Director Valake.
Good afternoon. I had to look at the clock what time it is. Thank you, everyone. I first want to thank the superintendent and the Board of Education for this opportunity to share with you the great work that we're doing at Adult Ed for our community. So if you could do the next slide, Amir. So our mission statement by design is succinct. So Buffalo Public Schools Adult Education is dedicated to serving Western New York residents through a commitment to high quality and equitable education for all of our adult learners, providing the tools and knowledge to achieve both their personal and professional goals. As I said, we tried to make it succinct so all of the staff here can learn it and own it and know it, and our community knows what type of dedication we have to the service we provide the community. Next slide, please. So you'll see we do have a very large leadership team here at Adult Education. And as the superintendent mentioned, we have served over 3,000 students, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So we have a lot of support for our staff to provide the resources that they need. So we are headed by, of course, Dr. Reynolds. Dr. Alyssa Monfoletto is my main direct report to speak to adult ed concerns and questions. Myself, I am the Director of Adult Education. We have Dr. Greg Johnson, who is an Instructional Specialist 3. Mrs. Lisa Daniel Baines is a supervisor. We have 3 supervisors. Marielle Foster is a supervisor, and newly added in January is Jason Gazzetta, who has come to us with many years of adult ed experience prior to me starting even in 2009. Then we have Jan Kowalski, who is our Director of Access Program, which is for grants and finances. So he works with that area. Karen Zamicki is our grants coordinator who ensures that we are in compliance and basically our money is spent efficiently. And then we have Mr. James Barn, Jimmy Jr., who is our community resource leader, who has been an excellent addition to our division for greatly increased marketing and promoting our program through the community. So we're very great to have him. Our additional employees, we have 9 PECTA staff and 112 BTF members. So that includes teachers and case managers. So every teacher has a case manager assigned to them, and that was new for the New York State years ago. We were the first ones to start adding this type of service, which is basically to help our students that have, they're adult students with life experiences. So transportation issues, domestic violence issues, anything you can imagine, homelessness. So we help guide them there, and they are also charged with helping them decide a career plan and staying engaged in education to maintain that connection. So I wanted to make sure to highlight the great staff that we have here. Next slide. So in adult education, we do have 3 core areas of study: HSC, which is high school equivalency / GED, general employment or educational diploma. So we do prep classes for the GED, and we also offer it, which I'll explain a little bit later. We offer a testing site. We also service the English as a second language, or a new language, if you will, because many of our students come with already having 2 languages. And our career and tech education department offering different programs. We are at 15 different sites throughout the city, and I'll explain that a little bit later, but by design, we're in all 4 quadrants of the city: north, east, south, and west. We are a Pearson testing center, which means that we offer GED testing. It didn't used to be Pearson's, but Pearson's bought that out a couple of years ago, so we had to go through the process again, applying for it to be accredited to provide it, and I will go into that a little bit later. We offer national certification courses and also state and city licensure courses through our CTE, local employment training, and community education courses. Next slide.
Good evening, everyone. So adult education is a very robust place. And as Amanda just highlighted, we provide HSE, or most people know GED, that acronym. They're free. And I have to really stress that they are free. Everything we offer, aside from our CTE and continuing education programs, are free. And we offer, Amanda always does a great job of explaining to people, we are here morning, noon, and night. We offer a variety of classes as well as distance education, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It's a very unique area that we have been able to provide here at Adult Ed. One of the spaces that we do provide for, and some people are familiar and some aren't, our Career Collegiate Institute, otherwise known as CCI. This is for youth 16 to 21. I know here it says 17 to 21, but we align with the district policy as far as drops compulsory and non-compulsory age. But this is a space for our youth to achieve not just HSC, but we also welcome ESL learners that can bridge from ESL to GED, and also workforce and job readiness, as well as college, anything kind of post-secondary we can provide for them in that unique environment. And then of course our ESL, which is a very large population that we have throughout adult education throughout the 15 sites here in the city of Buffalo. And then we have our CTE programming. Again, we offer a very unique area of CTE related classes that align with the eligible training provider list. And we work with Buffalo and Erie County Workforce Development Investment Board to ensure that those are provided. And we have a lot of really strong partnerships that Amanda is going to talk about a little bit later, not just higher ed, but local for employment opportunities to really enhance and advance our students and adult learners. Admir, next slide, please. So I talked a little bit about CCI, but this is a really, really unique area that we have here in the city of Buffalo. So there are 6 total GED programs in the city. We are the largest. As of this morning, we have 201 children enrolled in CCI, and we are growing. Last year, we had 55 students walk the stage. I know our board president was in attendance and several other board members have attended throughout the years. It's a wonderful presentation. We have a lot of great success among our students. But within CCI, we offer ESL and GED, and we partner with a variety of resources because the kids are coming in with needs beyond the classroom. So just because they're in an adult education program doesn't mean that we negate their SEL needs. So we've done an assessment of the students. We asked them, we said, what do you need? What would you like to see at CCI? And we brought those services to them, and we're continuing. And here's some examples here on this slide of some of the services that are supporting our youth at CCI. One of the really great resources has been our relationship with the WIB and the AIM Hire program, because the students can take the bus literally down the street to workforce and engage in their programs and their services to gain meaningful employment or entry level, or go into a space or an avenue of licensure or certification that perhaps we don't offer. But that's part of our partnership, right? That's part of what we do within the city of Buffalo. But CCI is a very, very unique program. I welcome anybody to come tour it and visit. We're housed at School 4, and we have classes in the morning and the afternoon for our students, and we're growing every day. We receive kids, from our Buffalo public schools as well as our surrounding schools here in the city of Buffalo, and we provide so many resources to them that builds them up for success. And it's just a really special program that we offer here through adult education. Next slide, please. So our CTE and CE programs. So everybody's heard CTE. They're very familiar with it in K-12. Well, CTE are certification programs that allow people to gain certification or licensure employment. So you will see class stationary engineer 1 and 2, and then our chief engineer. Really interesting fact, the majority of our building engineers here in Buffalo Public Schools, I see Amanda nodding her head, have come through our program to become engineers. We are also endorsed by the city of Buffalo. Our instructor has that endorsement, not just from us here at Buffalo Public Schools, but also the city. So many of the individuals that are in our classes, some of them are already in employment opportunities, whether it be Rich Products or other entities that are paying for them to be with us, or some people are coming in fresh because this is an employment path that they want to pursue. But as you can see here from this list, these are the high and need jobs that we are offering. And quite frankly, our classes are quite full. We have waiting lists for quite a few. And I really want to highlight too, and I know Amanda's going to speak more to them later, but we have just began a new partnership with ECC through the automotive program. I'm sure many of you have heard of the automotive partnership with Northland. It's a similar partnership, but with us, the students gain their coursework and then have a direct entry into the auto program for Erie Community College. And then same with Bryan and Stratton. What's really cool about medical office is they get 16 credits with us, and then they can enter into Bryan and Stratton and pursue any of their associate or bachelor programs, or if they choose to change into one of their diploma programs, they have that opportunity too. But we offer the medical office for them to transition to Bryan and Stratton. It's been a really wonderful opportunity. And then we have our continuing ed classes. And these are really classes where people can take, they don't offer a certification, just an in-house completion of kind of getting to know skills. So we get a lot of people on hands-on improvement. And this is really just basic stuff around the house and how to do. And it's a really well-received class. And for some people, that class is an introductory class to then come into our exploratory construction class in CTE and pursue a career there because they've had this touch point of introductory level knowledge in that world of carpentry. But we offer welding and plumbing and residential electric. Another interesting fact is our welding class is actually taught by the daytime CTE teacher, Craig Dunn. He's a phenomenal teacher. So he's a K-12 CTE teacher that also works at night for us at Adult Ed, and we see a lot of that overlap. Horticulture, Tom Mitchell was a horticulture teacher at McKinley that now teaches us for us at night. They bring a really great wealth of knowledge to our adult learners, and it's been a phenomenal area of growth, and we hope to grow not just our CTE, but also our continuing ed classes as well. As I shared before, many of them are full and or have waiting lists at this point, and we do enroll every fall and spring for those courses. Admir, next slide. So I talked a little bit about distance education earlier. So distance ed is a really unique area that this state of New York, NYSED, our governing body is AEPP, and they have allowed us to offer distance education through various course options, GED, ESL, citizenship at one point. So the basics of a distance ed are the qualifications that students have to test. We offer a TABE test, and they have to be what we call an NRS level 2 or equivalent to grade 3. This is usually in literacy and numeracy to be part of the distance ed. The reason being is the students that test at higher level tend to engage more and can commit to 6 hours of assignments per week, as well as 3 hours of tutoring. There is advocacy by us at BPS Adult Education to enhance this and be able to offer it to more students. I know Director Valake has really emphasized the importance of how strong this program is and how big it is. And we have an opportunity to touch more students. It's very new. And I know that's strange for many people to hear, but it's a very nuanced in adult ed. For many years, adult ed was pen and paper. Now we're transitioning to a lot of computer-based testing and instruction. So this is all part of that transition. It's a really phenomenal opportunity for students, and we see extreme and large successes with that. And Amanda will talk about those data points very shortly. And I'm going to turn it back over to Amanda.
Thank you, Dr. Monfiletto. And before I begin the next slide, Amir, if you would advance. So just to piggyback off of what Dr. Monfiletto said, it goes to demonstrate that we are available morning, afternoon, evening, and distance ed. These are adult students. We need to meet them where they're at. Distance education used to be quite smaller. I've been with this division since 2009. COVID, of course, saw quite an increase, and our teachers were uncomfortable with it at first, and our students were uncomfortable with it at first. But once they started doing it because they had to, then they started being more comfortable with it. So our distance education numbers have grown drastically. So we're really proud of that, and we are supporting that. So this slide speaks to, as I said, we are a Pearson testing site. We offer GED here at 160 Edward Street at our Workforce Literacy Center. It's across the street from our main building here that I'm sitting at now, 389 Virginia. You can register online at wged.com. I will note that I'll offer you that, but all of our students that come in at orientation, we have them sign up immediately during orientation. So we make sure that we can capture them because we get, of course, credit for them passing it. So there's a certain code they have to put in. So we make sure that our students are registered immediately. And there's a lot of different support services that are provided by registering for that. The testing is now all computer-based. That's been like that for a few years now. Before it was paper-based. So this is not in the presentation, but this is something I've told our staff that we need to start moving way more towards digital literacy because our new English test that we have for our students is this year is now computer-based. So we are doing that in adult education to help support our teachers, provide our students that knowledge on how to navigate computers, because we're in a digital world, right? So you can go ahead and advance. Oh, but before you can keep it at that, but I want to say back to that testing site, I want to point out that we are one of few testing sites in New York State. It's not cost effective, I'll tell you that. We just break even, but that's not the point. We want to be able to provide a testing site for our students, and we're such a large city. It is not just for our students, so we will allow people from all over. Actually, we get people from New York City who will take trains and buses and cars to get out here because New York City testing site is full. So I just want to point that out, that it is a great service to the community and the state in general. For our locations, so you see here, these are our 15 different sites. You can see we're at all these different community centers. And again, by design, we are in 4 quadrants of the city. This is on purpose to be on bus lines. This is on purpose because people have transportation issues in the city. And by design, as you can see, we are in community centers. And the reason we're in community centers is, of course, they offer all these additional services that our students need. So clothes closets, domestic violence services, counseling services. Over at New Hope, you can get dental services and baby care, clothing services. So it goes on, and I welcome anybody to come visit our sites. So you can see that we're at all these different locations. You can move on to the next slide. So highlights, it's hard to put all of our highlights in one slide, but these are definitely some of our highlights. As Dr. Monfiletto mentioned, our AIM Hire program is with the Buffalo Employment Training Center, Workforce Development, I believe it's now called, and the Workforce Investment Board. This is for our youth program at Career Collegiate Institute, CCI, and it offers our students stipends to go into an employment, get referred into our program, and we ensure that we do that. We were so successful last year that we were given a re-up this year. So we have another year of it right now. So we're doing very well. SUNY Erie, and I'll cross over to Bryan and Stratton. Both these programs are articulation agreements, as Dr. Monfiletto mentioned. It is where, through a partnership with, like, for example, SUNY Erie, we provide coursework for automotive in our classes. And if they choose to move on, so I don't know what the nomenclature is these days, but it used to be called stackable credentials. So our students come in and they receive a credential from us, and we encourage them, if they're interested, to move on. And they can go in and receive 2 credits towards SUNY's really well-received automotive degree program. And Bryan and Stratton was an incredible success that I will give credit to Dr. Monfiletto and Supervisor Jason Gazzetta for securing the Bryan and Stratton, because you can receive 12 credits at Bryan and Stratton towards their degree if you enroll in our medical office program. And our medical office program is very robust. Currently, we're moving it right now, so we're on a little hiatus, but it's an incredible program. So we're also in partnership with Access VR. So for those of you who may not be aware, Access VR is adult career and continuing educational services for vocational rehabilitation, and it helps individuals with disabilities to achieve and maintain employment. So what we had previous years were 2 different services, which were career exploration assessment and vocational assessments. So we would give that. Then we successfully bid on an RFP to offer additional services, like 20 different services if we were able to provide them. And we're currently lining that up. We just got the contract, so we're setting that up to help all of our students. And what I'll say from my experience in adult ed is that this is what we're kind of already doing with our counselors, with our, I told you, case managers. So we're using the skills that we already have to help our students get employment and whatnot. And we have many students, of course, who are disabled to help them. So we thought, why wouldn't we seek this as well? So now we have additional funding to enhance this. And the additional classes we have, we added computer instruction for our youth students at CCI. We have 2 different services for our youth there as well for emotional supports through Bruised Yet Still Blooming, and that's for our female youth students. And that's on Mondays and Tuesdays, both morning and afternoon. And then the Breaking Barriers is for our youth male students, and that's the same time, Mondays and Tuesdays. And that helps people with their emotional supports that they need and different stuff in their life. So it's very open and the students really enjoy it. And then we're continuously always looking to add additional partnerships to create opportunities for our adult learners. So I'm, reaching out all the time and trying to do more this year with reaching out to different programs to see what we can offer our students. Next slide. So our demographics, it's pretty impressive, I feel. We've served 3,565 students last year. We don't have the data right now is raw and fresh. Our database just got up. It's not working in the summer through state ed. So we wanted to give you last year's stats. And you can see the breakdown. Male, 1,731, female, 1,834. Self-reported disability, 152, and learning disability, 244. We are not allowed to ask our students at orientation if they have any kind of disability. So we talk about advocating for themselves, and we hope that they come to us and we can look to see how we can help them. But this is what we have self-reporting. Non-native English speakers, 2,256. Now that also includes, not all of these are in English as a new language class. So some of these are in bridge classes, learning GED, but they identify themselves as non-native English speakers. And I'm impressed again. I mean, I know K-12 does this and I'm proud of it, but we represent 80 different countries. So we are more than diverse and we embrace it and celebrate it daily. So I'm really proud of that. Next slide. So our enrollment process for high school equivalency and English as a new language, it's by phone, walk-in, or online. Day and night orientation available, again, to make it accessible to all of our folks in the community. Our career in tech, it's also by phone, walk-in, or online. It is semester-based programming. As Dr. Monfilotto said, we do have a wait list, so we monitor that now. And maybe we need to expand classes, so that's what we're doing, and we have. And semester-based is September to December and January to June. And we're doing really well, and we are purposefully trying to align ourselves with the needs of the workforce in the community, not just offering a class because somebody wants it, but we want to make sure that they get employed. We do have open enrollment for both HSC and ESL. Some adult ed programs in the state don't offer this because it can be it's cumbersome. I'll say that for sure. However, again, we need to meet people where they're at. And when they pick up the phone and they say, I want to enroll, we want to catch them when they're hot. and they're excited and they want to come in because it's hard enough to want to get back to school with all of the stuff they got going on as adults. So when they come in, we get them, and we have a process where we call them and we encourage them, and where are you at? Why don't you come? So we want open enrollment because we don't want people to say, oh, I'll do it in February or whatnot. So that's why we have it, and that's how we've kept it in adult ed. We do have a robust 3-day orientation process for 12 hours. That is by design as well. State Ed has requested that of all programs, with the thoughts of that will get people more engaged and comfortable with wanting to be in our program. So we've really tweaked that because it used to be very brief, to where our students feel well supported after orientation when they go into the classroom after that. Updated technology, we are using iPads now to enroll people, and it's been going very well. And then we have supports, as I said, with online testing and creating, in orientation, we create GED.com accounts right at the beginning. So people are ready to go. Next slide. These are some of our data points for the previous school year. Our youth enrollment was 439 last year, which is drastically large compared to previous years that I've worked here. And that's kudos to Dr. Reynolds and Dr. Monfilato and the board and the superintendent for supporting that program for the need of these kids. So they've helped us with that. The GEDs, I mean, there's a benefit of it. We got 55 students received their GED. The non-youth GEDs, the adult GEDs were 105, and the total number of parents of K-12 students in our district are 1,203, because of course the students that we have children. So because of that, years ago I had requested, let's try and start a partnership with FACE, with Dr. Rich, and try to see what we could do to collaborate. What can I do to help you? What can you do to help me? So just to let you know that we are working on that right now. Next slide. So another one of our benchmarks are employment. So I'm not sure, I think if next slide don't turn the slide, but I'll explain to you. Our largest funding stream is called EPI, Employment Preparation Education. So employment preparation education. So we need to help people get their literacy to get employed. So one of our benchmarks is getting people employed. So we reported last year that 55% of our students received employment 6 months after exiting. 52% did 12 months. And then last year, we met all of our benchmarks, which I think is phenomenal. And I will say, and I'll go into it in the next slide, they raised it quite a bit. So I'm very proud that our division worked very hard to get there. And then we served strictly English students, English as a new language students, 1,697. Next slide. So as I said, this is EPI, the Employment Preparation Education. You can see the outcomes, the benchmarks on the left, the requirements, and then what we performed. So our post-test rate, so we have to take a test of our students after 40 hours because they feel after 40 hours a student has gained enough education with us to make a gain. So they require us to do it. They require us to make 70%. We did 70%. They also require us to make a gain with our students of 53%. And this is what I was noting, is that the 23-24 school year in previous years was 49. So they went from 49% to 53%, which is a 4% increase, which is quite a lot to move the needle with 4,000 students. And we charged our staff to help and make it done. So we exceeded it at 58%. So I'm very proud of what we did. The WIOA Incarcerated, that is our Erie County Holding Center program that we have there. We agreed to serve 29 students. We had 29 students. Again, many of them come and go because of the nature of the holding center. And so we served 29 students. We exceeded the post-test rate, and we certainly exceeded the gain rate. So a lot of those students left with a lot of knowledge, and hopefully, we got a lot of GEDs out of that too, and after that. The WIOA, that is, the Title I funding, so that is our adult basic education, and then we have a grant for literacy zones in the east, west, and north. We agreed to serve 1,118 students. We served 1,204, and as you can see, we surpassed both the post-test rate and the measurable skill gain. So, very proud of our outcomes, and we're going to keep it going. So that's all I have with that.
That's a lot.
Next slide, Admir. So as we round out the presentation, I also want to echo that I am so proud of this division. Those benchmarks are not easy. And as Amanda said, the state keeps raising the bar and we keep exceeding it. I am so proud of the teachers and the staff that work day in, day out, and our students. So it was very impressive last year. So finances. So everybody always asks about finances for adult education, and we roughly are about 8.6 million. That doesn't come from one funding source. We are a combination of state and federal grants. We actually have 13 different funding streams. We are not rich. We say that all the time. We are not rich by any means. So when you see a fee for a CTE class or continuing ed, we don't make money. We break even for supplies and teachers, and we have to account for all those things. So while we have quite a bit of part-time teachers, we also have full-time teachers, and people do elect to have benefits, and all these things weigh into it, as well as the hourly rate for BTF and the increases in BCSA. So we really are very strategic on how we use our dollars, and in some capacities, we are only allowed to use them in certain ways. As Amanda outlined before, WIOA and EPI are very, very strategic and deliberate in how we use our dollars, and they have a lot of checks and balances to ensure that we do it the correct way. We also partner with DSS, Access VR, and the United Way that helps support the funding for our teachers. For example, the United Way helps pay for 8 of our teachers in our DSS sites and 1 case manager, 7 teachers and 1 case manager in our DSS sites. And those are traditionally the community centers you saw listed earlier, the Bell Center, Gloria J. Parks, Northwest Community, the list goes on. And we have really, really nice relationships with them. And then, of course, our CTE course fees. But again, we're not rich by any means. We have to be very strategic, and we work really closely with CFO Barnes and his finance team. And we have some really great in-house finance folks at Adult Ed, Karen and Jan specifically, that really make sure that we are on point with our finances. Next slide, Admir. And lastly, I hope, because they're out there, I hope you have seen our Adult Ed billboards. They are in and throughout our city. I have to give kudos to Carol Wallier and Jimmy Barnes. They are strategic in helping our marketing and community outreach. They are often at tables in and around the city. They do a lot of work with various council members' office, community centers, with our K-12 buildings. And these are just some examples. I'm not going to read them line for line for you, but these are areas that you will see BPS adult education. And because of their marketing efforts and their community outreach, we have seen growth in our classes. That's why we have waiting lists. And when Amanda says we have to open another class, yes, we want to open more classes. We are unique in that we do have that ability to open more when the need calls, as long as we have certified instructors. But these are many, many of the areas that you will see BPS adult education. And we are always growing, and we are always looking for new opportunities to partner and to get our name out there. And we are always, as Amanda said, we are always in conversations with partners, and we might not be able to do things right now, but we always have a plan for, okay, how do we make this happen in the near future? Because we don't want to rush things. We always want to be really deliberate about how we roll out services and provide for our community, and making sure that we're giving our adult learners exactly what they need. And Jimmy and Carol bring a lot of that information back. People ask questions, you know, they inquire about certain things, they bring it back to me and Amanda, and we have a great conversation and see what we can do from there. So that concludes our presentation. Admir, next slide if you like, of BPS adult education. And Dr. Reynolds, I'm going to hand it over to you to wrap up.
No, I'm just going to simply say, because neither of the ladies mentioned this, but because of the strategic, intentional, and diligent efforts of every member of our division, we are proud that we've been removed from the New York State Education Department's corrective action status. So kudos to the team. And so board, and thank you to the team for your presentations. We are open for questions at this time.
All right. Thank you all for a wonderful and informative presentation. I don't recall us ever getting such an informative presentation on adult ed, and always knew that we had a robust adult ed program, but I don't think I was fully aware of how robust and how unique our programs are, and the impact we're having, how many students, how many learners are participating and successfully exiting the program. So much credit to all of you and other staff that are directly involved with the adult ed program. Board members that are virtual, down on the bottom where it says react, if you click on that, you can click on the icon for the hand wave if you have a question. I'm going to start, while you're doing that, I'm going to start in City Hall. I see board member Zulich has a question.
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna start with CCI, please. Oh, well, one, it is great to hear about this program. I don't know enough about it. I liked hearing about the partnerships and meeting and exceeding benchmarks, all good news. I'm wondering, for CCI, these students have already left traditional schools, and it seems like such a young cohort. That we have high schoolers this age. Is there a benefit of being in this program instead of like re-enrolling in high school? Does CCI have flexible hours of like distance education? What is the average length of time spent in CCI? And what is the I guess I would call it the graduation rate or obtaining a diploma for CCI? Please.
So thank you for your questions. As Dr. Reynolds and Amanda know, CCI is my favorite topic to talk about. So I hope to answer all your questions. So I'm going to kind of start in reverse. So our graduation rate does vary. Over the past couple of years, the average was about 35 diplomas, but we've seen such an increase in student enrollment from K-12 that we are seeing that growth. So last year we saw 55. We anticipate more this year. And I always welcome any board member, if you'd like to come visit, please come visit. We welcome that. The average length of time really depends on the student learner. So if they're an ESL student, they have to complete their ESL programming first, and then they bridge into GED. But if they're a traditional GED student, again, it varies. We've had students complete in 3 months. We've had students complete in a year. It is very much so self-paced. If they come every day and they're engaged, you know, the average length of time is 6 to 9 months. However, please, one of the components that we really didn't talk about that I want to emphasize is that if they're coming from high school and they have a Regents credit, we complete a document called Attachment R, and it goes to the state, and it becomes, they verify that the student in fact has that Regents credit. From there, they get credit for that on the GED. So let's say you have math. When you go to sit for the GED, you are exempt from the math section. You only have to take the other sections, and you can take it. And again, we try to certify every student, and Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, it's up to 3 times that they can take one section, correct?
In one year.
in 1 year. So there are many opportunities for them to be very successful through CCI. Now, as far as traditional schooling goes, kids come to us for a variety of needs. Amanda highlighted some earlier: homelessness. Sometimes they're involved with probation or legal services, and this is just a better opportunity for them to get their education as well as work while being monitored by the courts if needed. We also do get kids from BPS K-12, overage, undercredited, and they come to us, but we work with them, so there's not a lot of downtime. We offer classes only in the morning and the afternoon for them. The bulk of our students are really 18 and 19. We don't get a lot of 16-year-olds. It's very unique. We do get a sprinkles of 17, but the older group is really what we would traditionally get. And it's a fair mix of boys and girls. Our ESL is our biggest population at CCI. And just as a note too, the kids are going through the district, if they come through the district, through student supports process for drops, and following that process in order to come to us. And that's why they're registered in Infinite Campus and things like that. So they are hopefully not in the wind, but we do get kids that quite literally knock on the door and say, I heard about your program, I'd like to be here. And we do an intake with them. This year, we are doing a screening tool, which helps us better assess what their needs are, just not academically, but from an SEL lens too. So we can provide that full circle of supports and what they need. And we also do have the ability to provide them with additional accommodations for their testing. I think I answered everything.
And then, my next, should I just go through it or should we stick with CCI? I have 3 more questions.
Go ahead. I think,
Okay.
right? Okay.
All right, so funding, with Access VR with OPWDD. If you aren't able to ask and you only have self-reporting for disability, I'm going to assume there's under-reporting. Does this encumber like the funding you get from Access VR or the state or bidding with RFPs as far as numbers, or is there a way to better capture that number?
Amanda, do you want to take that one? Or you
Well,
want me to
there's a
start? Yeah.
couple pieces
Yeah.
and then you could add to what I might leave out. So SSVR, they actually send us their clients.
Mhm.
We
Okay.
refer our people to Access VR. As far as underreporting, those are our adults. However, we're able to ask the youth
Mhm.
about their IEPs. So that's a unique situation. So
Mhm.
we're able to find out the IEPs of the youth and make sure that they're serviced.
That's great. And
And
then,
oh, go ahead.
go
I was
ahead.
going to say, if they come from BPS, we have direct access to the information and also to the nice relationship between the principals and school counselors. So we do receive all of those needed documents when they transition to us, when they go through the central reg process.
Okay, and then with paid internships and apprenticeships, I heard there's stipends with AIM. Are there earning and learning opportunities with other workforce development? And then my last question is about distance education. Do you have the GED graduation rates for that?
So I'll take the stipend, Amanda, if you want to take distance ed.
Yep.
So the stipend, we applied to an RFP this year. We're in year 2. It's a very new program and the kids do receive stipends. It's called the WIB. It's through the Workforce Investment Board. And it's a small number of students. So they come to us traditionally in the day, and then we provide them with a variety of computer literacy, employment workshops in-house, and then they do go down the street to the investment board and work with their team there. Now, you asked about other opportunities. I'm going to be very transparent. This population is completely underserved. So if you go around and look for grants and look for various support services, this population is greatly overlooked. So here at Adult Ed, we really do grab at anything that supports these kids because they are the funding is minimal. And I don't want to put Jim on the spot, but we've worked with Jim around a couple different efforts to support those kids and some other grants that he supported us in applying for. So right now they do get stipends, and it's been we'll have some data on that. Probably mid-year is when they have us report. But we're seeing a lot of kids more engaging engaging in that program because of the stipend incentive. So again, if there's opportunities, please send them our way. I'm happy to investigate and make sure our kids qualify. And Dr. Reynolds, know I am a huge advocate for our kids. So if there's anything that we can apply for that you know about that we don't, I welcome that very much. Amanda, do you want to answer the distance ed question?
For distance education, the funding we receive is for 21 and over. So we don't have funding to pay for staff to teach our kids. Now, the funding we get is EA, which is from the K-12. That's the only funding we get from the district, is for our youth program. We could do that, but as a educator, I'll look into it. And that's a very good question, because there may be some individuals who are mature and ready to do it. But again, as we highlighted, our youth students have so many needs. And they may not think they have these needs, and they think they're ready to be independent and do it. So I worry about that they don't have a teacher who says, like our teachers there are fantastic, where they say, why aren't you here? Why didn't you come today? So, and what do you need? And
Director Blake, let's add that to the agenda for consideration.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Board Member Belton Cotman and Board Member Shuda, any questions?
I have I don't know if it's a question or a comment. I've been, part of the organization for a long time, and we've had such a shortage of the chief engineers, the first class engineers, and second class engineers. And I spoke a couple years ago about how we can get some of our high school seniors, like some of our young women and young men, to get interested and realize that this is something that is a very lucrative and stable career. And it's something we talked about, maybe some of our 18-year-old students working as custodians and going. And so that I have talked to Mr. Harris about it. And I think that maybe that's something we can have some discussion. Let's homegrown our kids that are looking for something. They might be a perfect fit, and it would fill the void that we have. We have people doing 2 or 3 schools, and we know that in comparison to the old model, it's a wear and tear on our building. And I think that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. I'll definitely take that into consideration and loop back to Director Harris and see how we can begin to build that.
And I'd like to be part of that discussion, Alyssa, if you set something up. Thank you.
Sure.
So great minds must think alike. I had a question on here. Is that how can we interrelate between CTE and your program? So Board Member Shuda brought up the engineer piece. As we look at what's happening with our high school population, this stationary engineer piece would be a very strong piece in our high schools. These children can come out being prepared, and we do have a shortage. Erie County has a shortage. Do you work with Erie County at all? Because there are people at Erie County who are also a part of the stationary engineer piece.
So our instructor works with all those entities and brings in the students and the partnerships and the need. What we can do is we can expand that reach. So we incorporate, and we're trying to grab and educate more individuals. Again, working with Rob Harris, we already do, but I don't think kids have an understanding or working knowledge of what stationary engineering is and what that entails. So I will definitely be moving forward with developing something so we can educate them on what that looks like. But to answer your question, yes, we work with the county and the city and different employers and different partnerships to support that initiative.
Okay, because I don't have his card with me, but he specifically said that he had been trying to get Buffalo Public Schools students, our high school students, on that path. He approached me one time I was down here at a meeting, and he said he has not had any success. So I'm not sure. It's not on your side. Maybe it's on the other side of the house. But Erie County is very interested in expanding this opportunity for our children, and I think it's an area that we can grow, particularly since our children would be able to come out of high school able to, if once they reach their proper age limit to do it. I just had a couple of questions. The barbering and hair classes, do you no longer have those?
So we sunsetted the program that used to be up on Delaware, and we have transitioned it to South Park High School, and we will be launching in the spring. Due to the move and just some logistical operational things, we will be launching in the spring. You'll begin to see some advertisements for enrollment for that shortly.
So it is your intent to continue that?
It's our intent to continue that, but to also enhance programming with shorter certification. So for example, natural braiding, which is a shorter certification with a high need, as well as lashes, are some of the areas that we're going to start. Lashes is a 6-week program with direct certification, and they can take the state board and begin working almost immediately. And there is a higher need. We know that there was a lower enrollment for COS, so we are really trying to enhance and re-envision what that will look like. And we want to do it the right way to ensure that we have a robust set of students to operate out of South Park High School in the evening.
Okay, because and I'm just curious, at one point, a lot of effort had gone into securing a certification that allowed us to bill the state for certain services, and I understand that that is no longer available. Les Leopold, before he left, worked hard to get that set up so that we could get additional income flowing into your department. I'm not sure exactly what it was called, but I do know that at one point we were able to I don't know if it ever even got off or even made it out of the off the table, but I know he did get approval that we could bill certain groups for barbering and doing hair. So I'm curious to know what happened to that program, because it took a long time. I mean that certification, because it took a long time to get.
I can't speak to that. I can look into it. I don't have that. That was before my time, but in my inception in this department,
she's familiar with that. What
What's
happened?
it?
Amanda should be familiar with it.
So it's called the COE, Council of Occupational Education. And we had them come out and we did the work that was required of us. The problem was that it required 3 separate full-time staff that had to be designed, because this is federal financial aid that was required. And there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, legal concerns. So the staffing concern of being able to afford 3 full-time people at that level to support this program, and then the legal concerns of if we did anything wrong, because it's federal financial aid, there was a lot of litigation. So it's paused. I mean, we still are in good standing, and we can revisit it, but it was not beneficial for the programs that we have, especially the ones that we have now.
Okay, thank you. Next question. The federal funds, many of their programs are financed through the federal funds. Have you seen a reduction at all in anything?
No.
Oh, good. That's good news. That's good news. And my final question, do you have an alumni?
We have lots of alumni. Are you looking for somebody in particular or a certain area? We have
Well,
many of them.
I know you have many of them. All of us are alumni of something, but maybe I wasn't clear with my question. Do you have an alumni association?
Amanda?
No, we don't, but I'm glad you said that. That's a good, we've been trying to highlight, because like we have people who immigrated here and became our teachers. I think Ms. Cotman, you saw one of our case managers from Herkimer who came from Africa and is one of our case managers. And we have people from Russia and Cuba. So we should do that. We do it piecemeal, but we probably should have an alumni association.
Well, from what I've seen, the events you've had, and this is a very detailed and a presentation I'm very pleased with. But what I've seen when you've had your events is that you have people that are no longer with you that are very enthusiastic about your program. And
Yeah.
I think that you have the opportunity to have leverage with that and to use that possibly in the future to maybe even generate additional funds for your program, scholarships or things like that. So I'm big on groups. So thank you. I appreciate the work you're doing. I'm pleased to hear that everything is growing. And I have one other question. You said you have your medical office program with Bryan and Stratton on hold. How long are you planning to keep that on hold?
Just a few weeks.
Yep.
Okay.
Because we have it's called a MedEnt server that students need to use to do medical office transcripts. And that server that is at New Hope on Jefferson needs to be transferred over to Buffalo Employment Training Center. So
And just
we're,
to- yep.
and then the teacher as well retired.
Okay. All right.
And
Thank
Bryan and Stratton's on trimester, so we are trying to line up with the trimester instead of the traditional semestering that you will see in ECC.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for the work you're doing. I'm also hearing things that Dr. Johnson, Greg Johnson is making a big impact to things over there too. So
Greg's
I'm hearing.
been very
good.
helpful.
Right.
Yes. Thank
All
you
right.
for that.
Okay, thank you. And let me give a shout out to Lisa Baines Daniels, because I would be remiss. She had 55 graduates this year, 53. Good kudos to her. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'm not seeing any questions, and we are running late, and we still have another presentation for student achievement. So we are going to transition to an update on summer school, and I also have to excuse myself because of a family commitment. So Vice President McEachern is going to take over the remainder of the student achievement work session. Thank you, everybody, for the presentation on adult ed, and keep up the excellent work.
Thank you.
Dr. Mubenga?
Thank you, Vice President Scott. I hope everything goes well with your family. So next presentation is going to come from Ms. Botticelli.
Good evening. I promise I will be brief, but you are more than welcome to ask questions when I'm done. If you could go to the next slide, please. So I just want to talk a little bit about our summer school. So we made some changes this year. And I'm going to share some data from a comparison actually from last year to this year, just so you have a perspective on what worked and what we might want to tweak. So in this slide, you're looking at our format. So we're comparing summer 2024 to the format we used in this past summer, summer 2025. So we'll start with middle school. In 2024, we ran a 5-day program. Students took the NFTA to get to and from classes. We ran 3 half-day sites, so students there would take up to 2 classes. And then we ran 1 full-day site, so 2 or 4 classes, depending on the particular needs of the student. We paid teachers an hourly rate to work in that program. Flash forward, we'll look at this past summer. We actually went from a 5-day to a 4-day program, Monday through Thursday. We were able to do that because we ran a full day program at 3 of our sites. So we switched to buses this year, so the kids were able to take the yellow, and feedback I have heard anecdotally from staff, students, families, is that they definitely preferred the yellow buses to the NFTA at this age range. So again, we had 3 full day sites compared to last year's half day sites. We've staggered the dismissal to make it a little easier for student and for our students. Students could take between 2 and 4 classes. Actually, they could take 1 to 4 classes. Teachers' hourly rate the first year was switched to a full day rate to accommodate the longer sessions. We had to move to that to eliminate Fridays. But the thought behind that plan was that having a 4-day week would be more desirable to staff who are working the program, as well as to families who may have things going on in the weekend and wanted to take a longer weekend. Anecdotally, again, I have heard that staff and families preferred the Monday through Thursday program. But again, to do that, we had to go to the full day model. At high school, 2 years ago, again, we ran a 5-day program. We had 3 half-day sites and teachers worked at the hourly rate. We did have 2 senior sites. Some students were half-day, some were full day at those sites. At that point, 9th through 11th graders could take up to 3 classes, but no more. Seniors could take up to 5 classes. They were at the full day sites. Most teachers were hourly, though there were a handful of teachers that worked the senior sites for the full day rate. The switch we made again this past summer was we went to a full day program Monday through Thursday. We ran 5 full day sites, 1 senior site, and 9th through 12th graders could take up to 5 classes. So it gave us a lot more flexibility. Every student didn't necessarily need that many classes, but we could stagger their arrival and dismissal. So some might come 1st through 3rd, some might come 2nd through 4th. It just made it a little easier to accommodate the needs of various students. Next slide, please. So here's just a quick comparison of some of our outcomes. So the 2 summers ago, summer 2024, we had in middle school, we had 604 students enrolled. Students recovered 939 units of study. And in middle school, it's a unit of study, not a credit. Compared to this year's middle school program. So we had about 100 extra enrollments. We had 706 students. And we were able to split out BPS versus non-BPS, just for point of reference. So 848 BPS students participated, 118 non-BPS. As the LEA, the local education agency, we are obliged to offer summer programming. If we're offering it, we also offer it to charter and non-pub students. I'm going to go right back to 2024 for a minute and look at our high school enrollments. So we had 5,648 enrollments. And 2,481 credits were covered. You can compare that to this past summer. We had a lower enrollment of 4,959 students. 2,447 credits were recovered by BPS students and 185 by non-BPS students. So you see, even with a lower enrollment, we had pretty similar results in terms of credits accrued. We slightly switched our enrollment process this past summer. 2 summers ago, every student was pretty much automatically enrolled. This past summer, we did ask schools to reach out to families to ensure that they intended to participate. Comparison of exams is below that. So you can see 2 summers ago, 769 exams were passed by BPS students compared to over 1,000 this year for BPS students. 83 non-BPS 2 years ago, 66 non-BPS this year. Graduates, and I just want to point out that the August grads are not finalized by NYSA. This is preliminary data. It could change. But 2 summers ago, we had 96 graduates. This summer, during the summer program, there were 116. So it's a significant increase of graduates. Part of that can be attributed to the model. The 1 full day site enabled the administrative team there to really focus on those students. They did a terrific job contacting principals from other schools just to keep them updated on how students were doing in that program. And they had a very focused review just to make sure everything was set for the course enrollments and exams. So next slide, please. I'm just going to quickly go through a few of these just to give you a sense of the credits that kids recover. So this is from middle school. You can see that Math 7 and Math 8, upwards of 200 courses recovered. So again, these are units of study at middle school. You can see English 7 and 8, upwards of 200. Science 7 and 8, again, a little over 200, and social studies. So students continued to pass courses. For our middle school program in the summer, students are part of our regulation is that students have to pass English and math, and then science or social studies in order to move to the next grade level. So some students needed all those courses, some students only needed 1 course, so it just depended on the particular needs of the student. Next slide, please. So this is just a snapshot of some of our core area credits that students recovered and a comparison of the 2 summers ago to last summer. So you can see we had an increase in students passing math classes. We had an increase in English classes, pretty much the same for science, and just a slight decrease for social studies. These are only core area. I didn't include things like phys ed and some of those other classes.
Almost 100. Like,
Next slide, please. So this is just a breakout of math. You can see algebra, we had some success here with students passing these courses. And algebra, the exam itself is required. Most students take algebra as their first course their freshman year, but we do offer a 2-year algebra course. So the first group you see is Algebra 1, it was a 1-year class. And then some students were enrolled in a 2-year class that they tried to recover. So Algebra 1 of 1, or excuse me, 1 of 2, or 2 of 2. And then we have Principles of Algebra and Geometry and Survey of Geometry. There were only a handful of students that needed to recover personal finance. About 100 recovered geometry and about 65 recovered algebra 2, which is typically taken by juniors. Next slide, please. We had a healthy number of students recover English credits, so over 200 between across English 1, English 2, and English 3, and then 58 seniors recovered English 4. So we were happy to see those numbers. Next slide, please. The sciences, I just want to break them out a little bit for you. The sciences are different this year. We switched to the next gen learning standards at high school. So students may be recovering the old science class of living environment or earth science. But some students who were freshmen last year might have been recovering the new biology. Biology replaced living environment, and earth and space science replaced earth science. So some students needed to recover the old course, and if they were a freshman last year, they might have needed to recover the new course. So we had to offer different flavors of the science classes for students, as well as the different exams. So you can see some students recovered environmental science, which is typically taken by juniors, a handful for anatomy and physiology. 155 students recovered the new biology course. And the new course is very different than the old course. It is heavily focused on the 3-dimensional learning standards. Students are assessed using clusters of different graphs and charts and paragraphs and things, and answer questions about those. So the instruction is very different than what we saw in the living environment course. So again, kids who needed living environment would have been sophomores to seniors last year. Only the freshmen would be recovering biology. Earth and space is the new exam that replaced earth science. So again, that's typically sophomores, but at City Honors, they take it in a different sequence, so that some of the City Honors students would have taken earth and space as their freshman, as their 8th grade freshman class. Next slide, please. You can just see a quick snapshot of our social studies credits recovered. The bulk of them were in global, either global 9 or global 10. You can see about 153 in US, and some seniors needed to recover participation in government or economics. Those are each a semester course. Next slide, please. And then we broke out exams just so you could get a sense of how the kids did. So these are only BPS. These do not include any charter students on this particular slide. And these are only the required exams. I did not include some of the like geometry or things that aren't required for graduation.
I'm sorry, just on this slide, or was it all slides that didn't have non-BPS students?
The credits included charter. I can break that up for you separately. There were, I don't remember off the top of my head exactly how many charter students we have. There were 193 charter students that attended summer school. So some of those credits would have been theirs. But if you need a breakout, let me know and I can get them. So this slide references the exams. This is only BPS, no charter students are included here. So you can see a comparison of algebra the previous year to this year. So we doubled the number of exams passed for algebra. English also increased. Earth science, the old exam was offered in 24. The 68 students that passed here were a combination of the old exam and the new exam this past summer. Living environment, the old exam was offered in 24. A combination of biology and the living environment is the 173 students that passed. Global, we had a dip, 158 to 95 passing this year. And then US history went 2 summers ago, 97, this summer, 129. So the biggest impact that we saw this particular summer was obviously in the algebra classes. We had certified teachers teaching the students, and it was very powerful. Next slide, please. So here's just a quick snapshot of our graduation. Again, this is preliminary data. It is not official until NYSED says it's official. So it could theoretically still change. But in June, we had approximately a 66.3% graduation rate, and it went up to 70.5 based on the summer school data. So we saw a significant increase because of students attending summer school this year. So we were very pleased by that. And you can see we also had some graduates from different cohorts. They're not factored into that 70.5%. Only the cohort 2021 would be included there. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to give you a quick financial breakout. So this is just a comparison of the past 2 summers. So the transportation costs you can see went up, and that's because we added the yellow buses this year. And again, the feedback we've received is that that was money well spent. I haven't heard complaints about that. So yes, there was an increase in cost, but the students were happier, the families were happier. It was easier for dismissal. You can see the teacher increase is the biggest amount, and that's for 2 reasons. We went to full day from half day, and the teacher salaries increased this year compared to the previous year. Administrators were slightly down from the previous year. We're slightly up with paraprofessionals. Substitutes are down, and part of that I would attribute to the fact that we had our own certified teachers working for the full day. We had certified teachers in every classroom.
In every classroom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, we did. And then our clerical costs went down a little. I just wanted to give you that breakdown because I know in these times, money is obviously something that we have to consider deeply when we make decisions about programs. So you can see we did spend more than the previous year. But we also had better results. I'm open to any questions you might have.
Just have a comment, because I am the park district, I want to commend the South Park High School team with the success they had in that model of the seniors, a 4-point gain in graduation rate is really something to congratulate.
Go Mike
Mike,
Morris
and
and team.
Molly, Katie, and Tracy. I was over there throughout the summer, and I just want to give this one anecdotal story. I saw a young man who got the call from that he was getting his diploma. I was at a meeting, and he said, I knew I could get it at their place because they were organized. There was no plan, and I was going to get it. And I was at South Park yesterday, and they were getting calls from kids who went to summer school who asked if they could come and finish up their year because they didn't make it. They had more to do. And so I think it's testimony to South Park. So thanks.
They did do an excellent job. They were very thorough. They were on top of all the kids' credits, making sure that they were moving forward. They touched base with other principals, giving updates. It was a great.
And I think it's a model to follow for the future.
It was very impressive.
Did the principals go over to the school like they know sometimes do?
There was continual conversation and communication.
I believe Mr. Morris actually ran some like Zoom calls with other staff just to give them updates on how the students were doing.
So can I ask a question about the graduation rate? Because I attended Bennett's graduation and partially attended Burgard's, and Bennett had more than one student. And they had several students that graduated. I'm trying to figure out, is there something I'm missing here?
At the ceremony?
Yeah, they had that received their diplomas.
Again, it's a preliminary rate. I would have to check with OSA. It's possible that there could be additional students.
Could be a higher rate, huh? High graduation rate. I had a couple of questions. So when I'm looking at these numbers, and you and I have had this conversation before. One of the things I'm often wondering is if we can't do something different during the year. Okay, and so I know we offered extended learning last year. Do we have any data on extended learning?
I can get it for you.
Okay, did it impact? I mean, did any of these children end up having to come over here or whatever? Because this is a costly expenditure, and I'm just sort of old school, if I sort of would like to see more emphasis put on during the year
Oh,
and there's been conversation, Terry, you and I have had it about focusing in maybe on the juniors and seniors. But this year we were able to get certified teachers and everything, so that's the argument for that. But when I look at these numbers, I always ask the question, out of how many, BPS only exam comparisons. Okay, so we took 154, but how many students started out this year in the program? How many ended? These are things that if we're looking at whether we're spending money wisely.
the total enrollment for summer?
Well, how many ended? And I'm saying we started out with, you have who you started out with, but what did we end up with?
We
Because
had 2,600 of our own students, we consider them attending. So they received a grade. It could be a failing grade, but they attended. So they either got an SRU for an AIS course or they got a grade in a regular course.
so let's go over this. So we had 4,900, almost 5,000 students.
Mhm.
And just about 50%, maybe not even 51%, of those students only.
Some of those students might not have come. So again, the enrollment process is something we want to look at. One of the one of the things we have to work through is the tight time frame. So the Regents exams are very late in June now. There have been some summers when they ended earlier in June, but right now they're all ending the last week. And then the following week is the week of July 4th. So we have a very tight turnaround and a lot of people are off. So the registration process can become difficult. So in this particular instance, schools would have enrolled the students. They were asked to contact the families to verify whether kids were coming. But there were definitely students that did not show. When we staff, we take that into consideration so that we don't have like empty rooms or anything.
Well, that's the reason that I'm asking, because when we look at each one of these categories, when I see 966 middle courses recovered, and then I see Math 7, 201 out of how many students? Do you understand what I'm saying? For me, in order to judge whether we're successful or not, is that bottom denominator.
Sure.
Okay,
There were
because
706 middle school students enrolled. That included charter as well. That does not mean that they all participated, but they were enrolled.
right, but I'm just saying, let's take Math 7. Okay, 201 passed the exam. How many didn't pass the exam?
We don't have exams in middle school.
Okay, so what grade do? 8th grade, whatever.
Algebra would be the
Okay,
first.
201 took passed. How many took the class?
I can get those numbers for you. I'm sorry, I didn't bring.
Okay, because for me, Dr. Mabango and Ann Berticelli, those are the numbers that we need to look at, because we don't know if we're successful. I mean, we should have a benchmark of what success looks like, and I love the fact that the previous people had benchmarks, but the state gave them to them, but at least they had benchmarks to work from. I'm just curious about that. What if we had 500 kids take the class and only 200 pass? What does that say? So
Sure.
from my perspective, it says that we need to maybe look at the teacher, maybe we need to look at some things, but we can't keep spending money and not figuring out if we're successful in handling the money is my point.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm going with this, 201 out of what? 85 out of what? Those are the numbers that I look at. And I'm looking at percentages to say we were successful by 65%. Last year, we were successful at 55%. This year, we made some adjustments. We were successful at 67%. That's the type of data that I'm looking for when I see reports like this, because I want to make sure that this money is well spent. And if by chance it turns out that, and I had asked Terry for this, to ask for this, I wanted to know what attendance looked like for the 6 weeks.
So we had
I wanted to know.
2,600 student at high school,
No,
about
I wanted to know
2,600.
how many we dropped. I mean, how many kids fell off through the process, because we did not reduce staff, okay, during that process. So that means we paid for people who possibly, I'm not saying that's the case, but with a limited number of students
They
that
had
were
little
there.
class sizes, but from the start to the end, they definitely dropped students.
Yeah, and so in our contract, we don't say that if we find out that we could, that your classroom, all the students don't show up in your classroom, that you won't get paid. We have to pay them, right? If we look,
We don't typically, we don't drop teachers during the course of the summer.
right,
Mhm.
that's my point, okay? So we have to see how successful this is. That's all I'm saying. And yes, it looks great overall, but 966 courses were covered out of how many?
I mean,
2,500, 3,000. That's what I'm looking at, because we're spending money in this program, and I've had several conversations with principals who are saying that the money could be better spent during the school year, especially for the 7th and 8th and 9th graders, and not provide them with some of this summer support. So
So
that
we try to take a
Oh,
multi-pronged approach. So we have obviously your regular courses.
Mhm.
During the school year, we will provide AIS courses for students who need to recover an exam, but maybe pass the class. We have repeater courses during the day for kids that might need both the course and the exam, or just the course. We have after-school opportunities for kids. And then we also have the summer program. So we tried to have as many venues.
Right,
as
but if they
possible.
knew that there wasn't gonna be a summer program, maybe they might be more responsible during the school year. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you knew in 7th grade, you can't mess around because there's not gonna be summer school, maybe you might come to that extended learning course or something that you have at your school or something. I just wanna, I appreciate this is a great report, but at the end of the day, I'm not totally convinced that we're spending our money as wisely as we should be with this group of students. I'm thinking that we really need to segregate that data and look and see. I mean, even go to the point where we ask how many times, is this teacher, we've hired this teacher, and we had 50 kids or 150 kids, but only 9 passed the exam. Do we have the right teacher in the class? That's how, well, I've always been a little spin because I had to. But that's how I look at it. So I'm just saying, I'm not finding fault, but I'm just saying that until we dig down in these numbers, we don't know if the teacher who taught this subject did a good job or a bad job. We just know we had a certified teacher in the room. Okay, we know, so that's what I'm asking. I'm just asking for us to look at how we're spending our money, because if did we do overall based on what did we have a benchmark? And I would think that the benchmark is that a certain percentage of every kid in each subject would accomplish that goal. Did we accomplish that benchmark? And so hopefully you guys will work toward that in the future is my point.
Board Member Codman, thank you for your feedback, and we're taking really good notes of your feedback. We'll go back to our lab and make sure that we make adjustment moving forward.
Thank you, Doctor.
Are there any, Adriana, I think you have your hand up. It's hard to see you guys in there. I think go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to, for myself, could we please have just some context in that, like the BPS only exams comparison page? That would help me, like what Sharon said, out of how many students. Because you can look at it and be like, oh, we doubled, like Algebra 1. But, like, was it 154 out of 155 students? So it was like, or, is it 321 out of 800? Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't really mean anything.
So I was 30.
So I'm
And
just
that's the only way to get the details of this party.
I'm sorry.
Hello?
Not sure where that was coming from, but they're gone.
I do understand what you're saying. So students, especially if they were a sophomore or above, can't actually graduate without that algebra exam. So we were very excited to see.
Oh, no, it is
success.
exciting. I'm just wondering the rates.
The percentages,
The percent,
the
yes.
success rate, that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Good for you. Good looking.
Adriana, are you good? All right, awesome. I think we have Kathy and then Jen.
Oh, thank you. I don't know why my hand keep lowering by itself, so maybe I'm supposed to speak. But I wanted to I also add those numbers really look good. I think anytime we invest in students and they're passing Regents classes, the money is well spent. To add to what Sharon had mentioned, that struck out for me as well when I look at how many of those kids are recapturing who did not pass, for example, or who did not take advantage of summer school, similar to their peers. So it would be nice to have that information because it will allow the district to at least capture those kids and provide some type of intervention so that they too can be successful in passing those courses.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Jen and then Paulette. Jen? All right, Paulette, we'll have you go ahead and we'll go back to Jen.
I was listening to the points that Sharon was making, and I had already marked on my sheet that there were 689 fewer students in the high school, and that it was $1 million extra for staff. And we are always subject to the complaints about, are we an employment agency or an educational agency? So the question that I was wondering, was the problem what the shift to only 4 days rather than 5, which a lot of people complained to me about, but was the shift because to full-time students, was it because you couldn't get teachers to work unless you gave them full-time? I mean,
It was a
that's the deal?
It was a combination of factors. It's obviously more appealing to teachers to be able to get the higher rate. It's more appealing to people to work, and I was understanding that families appreciated the 4 days versus the 5 days.
Right.
But on top of that, it gave students access to 5 classes. Previously, they could only take 3 if they were underclassmen. So this way, it's very important for us to keep our younger kids on track. Because all the data shows if you're going to be unsuccessful in 9th grade, you are significantly more likely to drop out, right? So again, the board picked that as their goal, right? So it's really important for us to keep those younger kids on track. So by offering that full day, if they needed 4 courses, it might only be, it might not be a core class that people needed, but we just wanted to have the opportunity for kids to take 5, especially the upperclassmen. If they needed 5 classes, this was their chance. So going to the full day model made it a lot easier for us to accomplish that.
Okay, I'm just asking the questions as the board is pointing out. Some of the data isn't allowing us to say what percent were successful. We don't know what the base is, as Sharon's saying. We don't know how many kids came in. And what I'm hearing is you're saying it's like 4,900 kids came in, but only 2,600 actually got a credit and graduated. So I'm really interested in the effectiveness and the cost effectiveness. And that's the reason I'm asking the question. For $1 million extra, could we have achieved a better outcome with some of the things that other board members are suggesting? That's all I'm saying.
So I'm gonna try to make the case for obviously the model that we just used, but we always go back to the drawing board. We're gonna meet with principals, debrief, get additional ideas. But it was important to us to be able to offer the 5 classes. It was important to us to have certified teachers in the classroom. The previous year at the half-day rate, we had a lot of substitute teaching math classes. We had certified teachers in front of our students this time around. So that was very important for us. So I do understand, yes, it was more expensive, absolutely. And we are looking at ways that we can fine tune that. One of them would be adjusting perhaps the way we register students. One of them would be adjusting proctoring as much as possible to cut down on those numbers. So there's ways we can tweak the formula, and I know Jim will want to sit in on all those conversations. But I do think being able to offer 5 classes with certified teachers was very impactful. And the graduation rate, I think, speaks for itself because 4% is a very large increase.
Okay, well, that is impressive. We're always looking at the graduation rate, and the only other thing I was impressed with the previous presentation, because when we have a 70% graduation, there's still what happens to the other 30? And if they go to the adult ed and get that second time to get a career, to get a GED and to go on to college, it is important to me. And I love the adult ed, and I go to their graduations because there was a time when 3 out of 5 African-American men did not graduate. They were suspended out. They didn't make it. And for me, when I came to this board 9 years ago, it was very important that we go back and get everybody who got accidentally pushed out, didn't make it, because our graduation rate was a serious problem for the community and for students. So I'm really glad we have the adult ed looking at making sure we capture these students. And I'm glad we have summer school pushing up the graduation rate. But again, we do have to be cost effective. So thanks for your information. And I know you're always looking to improve. So kudos.
Thank you.
Jen?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that, Shell, earlier. So, I have one quick comment, and that is my son was caught up in that biology, old testing, new testing, and it really did affect him, and he's now taking it again, while taking another science. So I know this is happening a lot in that grade level, that freshman biology grade level. So I'm glad that that's being addressed. Number 2, and this might be a question that it just slipped through the cracks for me, but when I hear and I see that we have so many charter school students that are attending our Buffalo Public Schools summer school and are being taught by our certified teachers, and our teachers are grading their work, people don't know how to drive, sorry. Well, how does that affect us? Like, do we receive any funding for every student who attends summer school in Buffalo? Do we, if that student was able to graduate because of their work in our summer school program, how does that affect numbers for us? Like, maybe it's spelled out, maybe I've missed it over the years, but that's something I've always wanted to inquire about.
I'm actually going to ask Jim to address the financial piece, but just as a reminder, we are obliged to provide those opportunities to all students because we are the local education agency.
So that's my point, is because we're obliged, but then the numbers are if we're obliged, do we get any credit for participating in their growth and success, or are their numbers strictly for them? Do you see what I'm saying with like graduation, especially if a student attends summer school multiple times in their scholastic career?
So I'm going to ask Jim to speak to the financial piece of that, but no, we don't get any credit for their graduation rate. So yes, we may have enabled some of their students to graduate because we provided the summer. But I think the state would look at it as Buffalo, the city, and everyone is a city resident. But I'll ask Jim to talk to the financial piece.
Thank you, Ann. Good question, Jennifer.
yes, the Buffalo City School District receives state aid through the inclusion of the charter kids that go to summer school. We combine them with our kids on our state aid forms, and we receive state aid for those kids that stays at the district to offset the expenditure.
I appreciate that. I was thinking that and got 2 texts about it during this conversation. So thank you very much. And I just wanted to point out for the record that that's also a big piece of the puzzle when folks look to public and charter school education and how it affects not just the regular school year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy, Cindy, I have one more comment.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. So is there a difference between enrolled and registered, like for the numbers? So say at the end of the school year, families were reached out to and they were registered. Can I use that interchangeably with enrolled, or is enrolled like you at
Right.
least showed up?
Enrolled means you were put into the system and on a roster.
Okay.
I don't distinguish in summer school, but actually central registration might have a distinction for that. But for our purposes, you're enrolled, and if you attend or don't attend.
Okay, thank you.
I have one quick comment. Perhaps when we talk about enrollment next year, the students who've only showed up maybe 10 days for the whole year or 15 days, we put something else different where they may have to come with their parent and physically register.
Mhm.
So we know they're serious instead of counting it in the.
Yeah, I am not sure that schools would have registered kids like that. But that being said, we will definitely, you gave me some feedback earlier. I definitely want to take it back to the group to discuss registration processes.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. In an effort to keep us moving along, I am going to go ahead and close out student achievement and pass the baton over to Board Member Shuda.
Okay, thank you. I am going to now pass this back over to Dr. Mubanga as we take a review of the parent engagement policy.
All right, thank you, Board Member Shuda. As Board Member, you're all aware, we brought this item to you at the regular board meeting, but for some reasons, we had to put it out because we were not ready. We really wanted more discussion before we could have moved forward. Without any further ado, I'm going to pass this to Dr. Renard.
Thank you, Dr. Mubanga, and good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you, Chairperson Shuda, for the opportunity to provide an overview of Policy 3170 Stakeholder Revision Process. This policy truly reflects our district's ongoing commitment to strengthening parent, family, and community engagement as a vital component of student success. And this evening, I'm very pleased to introduce our Director of Family and Community Engagement, Dr. Jennifer Rich, who brings a wealth of experience and a deep passion for ensuring that every family has a voice in our schools and that community partners feel valued in supporting student achievement. She will share with you a concise policy revision process that led to this iteration of Policy 3170 that we hope will be approved at an upcoming board meeting. Welcome, Dr. Rich.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Good evening. And yes, I know that we're really here for discussion, so we're going to kind of fly through here. So next slide, Admir. And so just a quick, the purpose of Policy 3170 is really to ensure that we are having meaningful and authentic relationships between and collaborative with our families, community partners. And then we're also accountable under ESSA Title I for an annual review where we look at the policy, see if it's still relevant to our current families, community members, caregivers. Is it really effective? Is it doing what it's supposed to do? Next slide, Admir. And as a district, we have adopted over the last few years the dual capacity building framework for family school partnerships. And this is really to ensure that we are doing everything, and I know Director Valake mentioned our collaboration. Really, it is a district-wide process to ensure effective partnerships that support student and school improvement. And really, we know effective family engagement leads directly to student achievement. Next slide, Admir. And so we did have a pretty extensive timeline for the review and revision. We've had a lot of discussion. It actually started back in March. I sent the calendar invites out to our parent leaders, our parent engagement liaisons, with the feedback form, with the current policy, so that they could share it with their school communities, start having those discussions. Then in April, we started our Facebook promotion, school messengers, reaching over 20,000 families. Those were sent out, translated as well. And then in May, we had, again, more promotion, more pushing out the weekly bulletin to the administrators, another Facebook reminder, another school messenger. And then we held 2 hybrid meetings, which again, interpreters were provided for those. And we had some really nice discussions. So we had a morning session and an evening session. And then after all of that feedback was collected, a draft was created and it was shared with our team. It was shared with Parent Congress. There was a lot of feedback around Parent Congress, so we wanted to make sure we had additional review there. After that, we met with Chief Scarpine to make sure that, again, are we following legal protocol with our policy? Are we on point where we need to be? In August, we had another follow-up meeting with Parent Congress, and then we had our final version that was shared out. And then this is where we are now. Next slide, Admir. So we had, and this was actually really exciting, a tremendous amount of parent feedback on that survey response. And it's exciting. We had kind of more than we've had in a while, and really great, thoughtful feedback. And again, diverse. Next slide, Admir. So again, out of that feedback, we ended up having some key revisions around the definitions, like for parent and families, removing that last sentence. We didn't think you had to define all families, because when we say all families, we mean all families. We shouldn't have to specify different, subgroups of families. We also got deep. We had some feedback around the difference between involvement and engagement, because we know that families show up in many different ways. So we went a little deeper into those definitions. Looking more, again, at district responsibilities and school responsibilities when it comes to meeting notification, because we know our families and community partners, they need to plan. And that was what they were telling us, like, hey, we need this to reflect where we're at now. So there were a little more details and expectations and hopes and dreams added to those sections as well. Next slide, Admir. And I think where, if you're looking at the draft, you saw a lot of red crossouts. This was really around not anything coming away. This was really feedback we got from Parent Congress. So removing the details of the Parent Congress bylaws, because that's their internal bylaws. We shouldn't be getting public feedback on internal bylaws. And that was a lot of our conversation. Now the bylaws are referenced, in the notes section, so that they are still brought to the attention of anybody reviewing the policy. And then Parent Congress actually came back with, I was super excited, some really fantastic thoughts on their annual recertification, where they are looking at intentional goals, things that are meaningful to them, the work that they're doing, and then being able to share their progress on their goals to the board and cabinet, Superintendent Dr. Mbenga, and I was really excited. And honestly, that shift feels like that is so much more impactful than just checking lists, which is where we were at before. And then we had the community health workers. Now they're incorporating the student component into the name. And that was really the biggest change that we saw in policy 3170 during the annual review this year. Next slide. And that was it. And next slide just says thank you and conversation and questions.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank the team for working closely with parents. I knew there was a little bit of frustrations on the parent side, and I'm glad that that is now resolved and everybody's moving forward. So thank you. And I think it was a great way to finish up. Anybody have a question or a comment? Jen? And Paula, Jen, Jen?
I might not have been able, I might not have put my hand down and I'm driving now, so no, and thank you for your work on this. And for listening to the parents too. Thank you for having that conversation.
Paulette? Board Member Woods?
My hand was up from before. I did not have a question, sorry.
Okay, so without any questions, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Mubanga to finish this up.
All right, thank you, Board Member Shooter, and to all our board members. This was really a robust discussions, and we appreciate all your feedback, and we take a really good note to make sure that we make adjustment in the future. So I'm going to take this point of privilege to introduce you our new ASL, Dr. Tamara Thomas. I think she's here. Can you say a few words?
I'm here. Thank you so much, Dr. Mbenga. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes. It has been an absolute pleasure being here on my first day, hitting the ground running. And so I just appreciate the team that we're working with here and the welcome that has been offered to me on this day. Thank you so much for giving me time to share a few words. And to our board, I look forward to getting to meet you all face to face soon. Thank you so much for having me on board as part of the Buffalo Public Schools.
All right, thank you, Dr. Thomas. I'm going to turn this back to board member Shooter so that she can dismiss our meeting today.
Okay, so thanks again to all the presenters and all the hard work that was put in. And I think everyone should go and enjoy the sunshine while we have it. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Nice.